Of names.
Here.
Council.
Great. From our sister students and all the on one families and students. National, cultural, and educational has proven to be mutually Mao, A, Katono, as student ambassadors, Professor Kwan Palarwal, Nathan. So congratulations everyone for being here in the city of Palo Alto. Congratulations everyone for being here in the city of Palo Alto, country and culture. Sarah Burgess, the president of
our schools in the city of Palo Alto. Change was paused. Change. And one additional for our host family introduce.
I am. Thank you very much. Host the program started in exchange. We were able to invite Christopher Cummings, your school student from Palm State. It without the vice president youth program. Our sister city relationship, many people. Acting and caring for each other, my gratitude all those who to the younger generation. I'd like to show
down and give you the down and give you the this evening, but
with my doggy, and I'm thinking of 75% of Californian quality of our life, especially since there are many hard work session meeting for giving out of poverty. City, and I would just like to say this, he had a curfew on a curfew 15 minutes later, heading towards Stanford Mall, already waiting in line to get our low income or that we're Stanford Research Park. We don't know the nation. This is a $100% a year taxes to the city. Thank you.
Okay, I have to say and apologize in advance. I want to talk about project cost overruns, including the not so. He's not managed that the way it should be. He had the bringing in more low income sarcastic and the city, and it turns out on what we can the Jewish community. I don't know for sure whether the first character. Congressional debate, I'll call it a disruption, whatever you want on most points, but a powerful Jewish member of the community, outcries, and I said it should have been an agendized item. Please, let's fire.
Concludes public comment on.
no discussion. And And deletions, city manager.
Have been reflected in the most recent action items, council discussion of then the council discussion, clerk needs to make an
Process of troubleshooting, recommend any members of the public or just view the meeting using ideas 3.
City manager.
Yeah.
Okay, minutes each and individual speakers at ground rules to make sure we're all tolerance. We strive to create a safe space, right, to express their views and this public disagree with it. To speak, tolerate members of the public during and after someone is speaking. And we ask that you do not clap or make any verbal remarks as they may make and respect the forum that we have created here for people to share their perspectives. And actually, one name is coming up next. If you'd kindly kind of move down to where.
Our first speaker is
Tarnopolsky, and I just broke your microphone.
Oh, I paused this time. Sorry. One moment.
Tell me when you're. I want to live with you. A so-called goal of incinerating my relatives in Israel to begin with, and I am asking churches enjoy open campuses. In September 19, Peninsula Times Tribune published an editor protesting the anti-Semitic cartoon, and next through the mails. Then I leave the scratches swastika on my front door. I'm asking, can that get any closer than burning a thing that the police were powerless to? Slide, please. At the time, Temple Beth Jacob had been burned. However, Rabbi Teitelbaum forward 42 years and the pursuit of happiness. And that's why, this is why I am not a rhetorical question. The Touch organization, Hamas, the Army of Seven, it harmony in our. I am grateful that the city council.
Our next speaker is McKenna.
163rd day of Israel's genocide on the equivalent of 19,000 of those Archuk massacres combined days. That is a city. Forget that long before Israel's most recent occupation, Theodore Herzl crossed the border by denying it circumspectly and take their places. Quote, Palestinians do not exist. Herzl non-Jews. Palestinians were, quote, grasshoppers who could not human. Absolutely not true. They are legitimate. Now he stated, quote, there is once stated, quote, we are fighting human, everything is closed. Israel starve, bomb, Israel forcibly denies. You have told us and the press. Why then did this council pass official documentation within a council has remained silent? Your prejudice is exposed and please act accordingly.
Anawe is determination to Palestine or Palestine would be the best locations in colonization have been made, though immigration is consequently few marvelous potency. Let's be real. Israel's survival. Zionists attempt to steal land and colonize. Nobody would genocide attached to Palestine used to be 75 years ago. To be anti-Zionist is to be anti-colonialist, and Palestine are undeniable. Savages have to be refugees in their own land, placed in internment camps and the cleansing of the U.S. is both the blueprint and the bank. But I do know that Palestine has woken up the world, not just with the killing of Earth Protect. There has been more tons of bombs dropped on Gaza than new research calculates that the carbon cost of rebuilding Gaza will only colonialism would land as relationship, not resources. Land requires ecosystem destruction and ecocide. Mostly colonial settlers do not have this indigenous voices and leaders. With Palo Alto finances, it's all connected. There is no bunker to our children and the next 7 generations of a healthy and vibrant ecosystem.
Since 2011. For months, members would oppose a ceasefire resolution serves the interests of Hamas and its propaganda. Hamas is committed, it rejects the two-state and its Arab neighbors. It courts. Hamas is also an enemy of the Palestinians. They took control of Gaza in 2007, the only thing for military purposes. They have cynically, Hamas leaders are Hamas gunmen, fire on Palestinians who try to access it. Many of the democratic liberal torturing and killing those accused of the crime of being yes, if journalists' interests. A call for ceasefire of breaking every single ceasefire to date. Most recent ceasefire creates a public impression that somehow from the fact that Hamas started this devastating ceasefire. That's the problem with adopting a ceasefire resolution. It can be weaponized in our kids. People is misguided. But if you call for a return of the hostage to self-determination, each with a home of their own, with people, but for what it has done to its own people, Israel and Gaza is horrific. It is difficult for all of us to watch. And
Our next
2017 Living Wisdom, where many students feel and bringing success back into the lives of the student, intelligent and remarkable, that in some cases allowed Living Wisdom High School to take root devastatingly, however, in Cubberley. Currently, we rent one simultaneously to our student of 2020. Repeatedly, we have sought to know new renters are being considered for new rental agreements, but none of these came to us about any other school in existence. And we have no endowment area, but because asking you for your support as city council members to maximize the resource of Cubberley, as thank you for your time and your consideration.
We want to inspire the people to become the best version of ourselves. We enrich our lives, making us happier, but by helping them up. The result, as like the Mahabharata and the Iliad, like this, is my sincerest hope.
speaker is Krishav, followed by.
Can I start? The goal of this meeting, numerous reasons to allow our school to do so, not cheap, but many times this is vital, and allow for trust to be maintained in the direct line of sight on long school trips, such as places are like.
Your time is up. Nicholas M.
A sophomore at Living Wisdom High School, meaningful connections, their determination and strength. If we anything that they set their mind.
Nicholas M. followed by Hari V.
I've been there, happy and fulfilling life, not just, and I one child at a time.
One thing I find the rise of clique culture, nor is it the fault of any administrators or guide. It is greatly difficult to done. This space is immediately attempted to
Your
welcome
time
me
is up. Thank you.
Council members, Mayor Stone was the history teacher to address the emotional, social, and intimate difficulty, my elder one. And because of his experience, please help them.
Followed by.
I grew up in a difficult home, but Living Wisdom, I moved on to a new school, during which my life spiraled. Later in Germany, earning a master's degree in math, I was on my way to joy was at Living Wisdom Rim to return to Palo Alto to support expanding our space. Thank you.
Thank you, council members, and rest on the shoulders of our Living Wisdom High School and purpose. I would like to bring through uplifting the future of our country, these children. Thank you for your
I am a practicing physician, but the truths are not medical, but both from issues at home. I've stood up here with such, and if given the chance, we'll be able to do it on a.
Thank you for your time this evening. Of Sunnyvale, the 911 call attend my programs over the years. The Living Wisdom School system of do to accommodate, to enhance our area's future aid. Thank you.
Your time is up.
Living Wisdom High School currently serves to do this because of Palo Alto. Many students, next teenagers, who they know their lives could do a Living Wisdom on the wait list right now. Please open.
Stiffer.
That there is really no other place like Living Wisdom High way to encapsulate the school service we do. The performance is bold. We still have a smile our students into this space that we have created. I think that it's
connection. I mean, I think I would purely hypothetically help dedication, remedy, and of course dedication, remedy, and of course the classroom.
Our next speaker is
Of course the classroom.
Our next speaker is Seem.
Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your time today. I'm falling through the cracks without any gem, and I hope it's a.
Hi. He was really struggling and enough about the school. Thank you.
For additional space for their students. Thank you.
He passed the put it down, and the liquid can be putty and help out wisdom. They need to.
A hard time, Carol. We are having a hard. Followed by.
At extinction. Submitted a petition, but as a so
continues tonight. Council know that I am deemed take a.
Our next speaker.
Hi there. Gaza is a Palestinian female to force them to keep video and photographs when I.
If no one is calling you in, beheaded and raped or a ceasefire is discussed anti-week. The second, October 7th, driven hate, which is
Jamal K.
Resolution that called for, reported that to undermine a Palestinian on the Israeli side and the Palestinian side have reason why the conflict keeps continuing, go out of office, and he
going to continue to stall, not matter. Palo Alto Public Schools, session that you might answer my question with, but what you public schools, session that you might answer my question with, but what use my voice despite support of my government. How are you using your
immediate ceasefire on an agenda? But I appreciate mediations all of a sudden. I appreciate mediations all of a sudden gratuitous, and I was the one that in Ellenberg who's shown spinelessness so far.
Point that pro-ceasefire means saving every life. I just want to no way that we can achieve a Israelis who are captive. Important for you to speak up and to speak your values.
Be able to unmute yourself and speak.
Madam Clerk, it's Carol G.
School here in Palo Alto indicating they are studying how much money do you get from taxes, their answers, and come up with questions to this school for participating in local.
Vice Mayor Lowry.
The retailers are invited, and especially council that was happening. So just a notification.
The Caltrain local policy aims to solidify throughout the corridor to help support be more effective at my colleagues to keep an eye open for door, but the workshops are open to.
I'll go to. Sorry, no. Third graders are really upset about the amount of tax and towards the purchase Friday evening session, and
Thank you, Council, for authorizing planning program is well known. And the challenges and opportunities that lie. The challenges and feedback regarding. Lastly, Professor David Amos, who I will now.
They've given the studio, but I have Antonio in just a brief 10-minute
presentation. I'm Jake Jansen.
Yeah, I'm here.
Corridor, our concept plan and some of the community Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and collaborating on a concept plan for the San Antonios over the next 8 years. Palo Alto is already built out. This site and plan and environmental considerations. A new urban neighborhood that encourages me. And this makes it difficult for young people to make safe crossing. You see here, we have the public park designation. Use concept changes to areas properly. Zoning overlay, such as increased height limits.
Are vital in cycle tracks. Additionally, they declare a Valley transportation improvements to facilitate children's safety is especially enough capacity for future residents on this. Additionally, the street frontage along public art, bioswales, this time at San Antero concrete buffers and transportation. We proposed recommendations based on the for new development, Highway 101. And next slide, residents away from the busy helps control ideas for tree canopy, and then the green neighborhood, and then sustainable environment. Next slide.
Probably wondering, where do all these, however, received at multiple community outreach events. Engagement event was a community workshop. Studio team facilitated public awareness, orchestrated interactive ad libs to capture the needed addressing, zoning classes, potential future growth. Alternatives were developed, was held at the Coverly. People really appreciated the density. Caltrain station of Palo Alto.
That report was written as well as Dias for. We'll do that as well as Dias for. We'll do that. Just wanting to move on.
Gave a great deal of focus. Projects coming forward for the corridor, but we don't yet have we have nothing in place as whether they're and we're losing the opportunity at times that piecemeal basis. So it actually given direction for it, and that we as a council have this right away, or wanted to commend community space that engage in community to reflect on that necessary element, truly affordable, mitigate impacts and
Mayor, note giving you.
So reason why we have that, it could be, and I will note there wasn't for instance, I think they were, bike path. For instance, I think they were, bike path.
Require the setback, which means where we're granted easements as a building, the set, we aren't having buildings.
Mandate requirements.
Be looking for attention to how behind it.
Yes.
Mentioned several times how behind me all the time and enter into one place like that is getting that. Really appreciate it. Was of the corridor that but Council Member Burt was just alluding to Lego. I don't remember what you called it. Can we do? How can we be diverse? There was a senior who had interesting to see summarizing that at the end. So presentation tonight, I don't think there's anything. Thank you for drawing that. 2 lanes of cars. So why are there
transportation team the students were?
Okay, that's it. Well, can't help but feel enlivened by and the entire team of students. It clearly took. I learned a ton of this work too as urban. I learned a ton of this work too as urban neighborhood, and that it would be. I appreciate your caution. I also really like that. Why is far? I corridor for people to pair section 1. Idea that there could be a feel like I can whether our rec in the middle inherently on Middlefield. I just package page 174 more description of me. Thank you.
Coordinated area kind of designated as that we're going to be working on.
Yeah, be made available in proposals that the city proposals, and it will be so that is programs.
Oh, very 88
application that is an
RFP. Transport continue with all the other time being until
now for review will be on the project right of way acquisition.
I think I just the council had approved road, and when I necessary to also evaluate, we're trying to get it to be. I wanted to make sure that so has more community space is also and recognition that lands. I think those are all in question is.
So as we have a whole outreach and engagement strategy.
I appreciate the report's attention. Dwellers were identified.
Do you believe that may be data that we have?
Unfortunately, that we consider here on San Antonio, and in 2 weeks from tonight on April 1st, we're going to be having a discussion. But a lot of my question was we do more development along smart urban planning. So appreciate all that work.
Chief Philip Kemme, Chief Transportation Official, and also that we will look towards council.
Thank you. We increasingly work on our border with Mountain View. We've got to be thinking about pivoting to Mountain View because
to the west planning process to appreciate a stakeholder entity, but I don't think that goes deep enough. Be really reaching out to
that note. I just want to note that at least interested in this, and it is
many hours. Thank you. There's a commercial, and these overlays leave out concrete pour. As far as I know, and for the interior economy and commerce, I would like to side and for families. I would like to side and for families. Public transit.
I had one question, for instance, middle stations when they're riding routes forward, they Bayshore interesting drawings. We talked about transit. U-board bicycle transport moves forward in the drawings that are brought.
I thought that overlap there is. You put a lot of thought towards how stepping stone to
the study session item.
Advocates as well. It's 5. It's 5. 5.
Our first speaker.
That space request for proposal. That space request for proposal. Third to that, and they would issue reject and page issue reject and page all kinds of utility and all kinds of utility. And rather than for this, I referred you in my email and annual report. Rather than for this, I referred you in my email and annual report not yet been filed. Report not yet been filed. Thank you.
Alto. There are animal control. Further cons have historically or accessing technology. After-hours vet care for animals on stray that the city would be and the city staff. Pets in need may shelter and provide. City shall pay for any services. No changes have been made here. And relationship between pets in.
I'm saddened by the contracts this did. This is the sole reason this shelter exists is paying more. Recently, it's come to. So I can see that they don't have the time or the staff to perform these crucial, just like their medical director said in the council, Pets in Need needs to bring back the 5 days a week spay and neuter with cruelty and investigate posts. Even though the city is still paying the capital, consider the alternative of an in-house shelter.
Hi, thanks. Overlays do not change of this type of housing. They're 100% raise rents. They neglect their rent build agreement. They have a fifth in force that we do a lot of city oversight on. So working with the county and working with the house. Thank you.
Prior speakers who spoke on it to the Chicago plan concerns. They've been there for, they've got another executive director here, 5-year contract for over $7 million, pointed out, contract with our city manager. Mayor feels compelled to reduce. Again, I think we need to have fewer items on this contract to pets in needs, because I felt that was shameful at the time, and I still.
It's 5 through 11.
So moved.
Councilmember Burt.
Yes, no on 10.
And want to pull 8.
All right.
Mayor Lowing.
Yes.
Mayor Series. Motion.
Okay. For procedure act to enable an affordable house, I found that the report really didn't provide in place a major step down of the standing. That lower rate basically kills any interest to include like solar programs. So I think that we do sooner. We're basically killing this. My understanding is that C40 cities, which are the global cities that have in-city or local, how much greater reliability and resilience do we have with local generation issue? And I think that we want to have ability and resiliency plan. Thank you.
Clear result consulting at the EV ports at 30 sites that 7 sites that were done over the 5 years, 6.3 times. 6.3. The idea of having EV ports 3 times faster, it doesn't make sense. I guess I don't see how that's going to happen. Getting a plan that's more, I think there's kind of like a few costs to the city that need to be, but like.
Councilman Banker.
Yeah, like the idea. This is one where it was pulled from last week, it should go forward, but it's something where there's a lot more context and a little more notice on that.
Consent calendar, moving on to city manager comments.
In the interest of time, I'll go through this. Anyone this Wednesday, the last reminder, State of the City address, State of the City event in person. If you are attending in person, we want to note a number of grade separation, 16th, April 22nd for the City Council to hold this. All these dates, certainly 10 under consideration. To add bike lanes on this topic, additional information available at our website, City. We have a few, March 24th, and then also ongoing, primarily for community, apply for grants to forward to completion of this project, and seeing do want to pay note to the April 29th date. In consultation with the mayor and vice mayor, the city clerk will be on your council calendar, so want to confirm availability.
Thank you, City Manager. Back, and we are going to now move on to Finance Committee and Policy and Services Committee work plans. This item has been continued. Not be holding public comment on this item this evening since we already took public comment on this item. And we were on climate change and sustainability, and we covered, is that what it's called?
You may have Creek on your mind. Questions and ultimately motion.
Under clarification on what's now items 29 and 30, they both
strategic plan that council recently approved a consultant contract for city fleet. And
I mean, there's been a plan to roll into EVs, so
now, and what we're trying to do is get a little more organized of that.
Okay,
Councilman Vinker.
Perspectives. There's still so much more we want to do. So it's really all about prioritizing. We've got the grid modification. And then, of course, the one margin program that you said it's better to under promise and over deliver, but I don't think and I think that's what this is. And so I just want to commend.
So I concur that, and then they really come to realize later after kind of leveling off after we set the goal and not making a great deal of progress, we really are doing, come back to us, then that lays the ground. 65,000. I didn't realize we're on that.
65 actually represents all three actually installing 1,000 meters a week.
That's great. And then the other thing connected with data that we're going to use and for what purpose and outcomes from that, and that we vet that through our advisory groups who may have their own under 30 on the fleet. It doesn't have to be massive, but whether they had an e-bike program in their city, the employees, we have to make a special request to drive a city car as opposed to you. And that shows the difference in program. The climate program, the contribution to GHGs. I'm aware now that there's at least one, well, there's really, leave your home, you can look, and it's under 37 candidate for solar programs involved in reasons as their top candidate for, I'm trying to remember, do we have an upcoming update to
the specifics? So if staff is.
All right, thank you.
About the airport long-range plan to all unleaded so that we fit into that as with more and more buildings coming forward, climate change, addressing dewatering, etc. Can you help me understand?
You know that as well, the status of commercial dewatering regulations?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Cooper. 94 here. It just happens to be under community health. About the commercial building dewatering, we had some discussion when we were setting council priority standards that encourage people to actually water that has to be pumped, or they have to go through some much more stringent, pretty successful. And we really haven't had enough projects come through that.
To identify it then and to make it an ordinance.
It is an ordinance.
It is an ordinance.
It is
so
an
because
ordinance.
earlier you said.
One is to install an engineered cutoff wall that blocks the flow of groundwater into the site to minimize and do a lot of expensive monitoring along the way.
Thank you.
So for the most part, we've been finding people have been choosing the fully wood. And we have the same types of requirements for residential as well. It's just on a smaller scale.
Thank you. We used to Palo Alto as part of our infrastructure under climate change.
SCAP goals under the natural environment for a higher top year.
Thank you, Mr. Eggleston. My next one is on housing.
On this round.
So sorry.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
We'll come back to that. Councilman.
Which item covers the scooter share program that we approved unanimously, I guess about 4 years ago? But we talked about it, but still
in our work plan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Phil. A component along with other SCAP projects. So that is something that we were actually unsuccessful in hiring. And so we'll be going, also note that just to prep.
Okay. So the plan is still to try to do it this year?
Delivered in the year.
Okay. And which item did it cover? Was that covered in? Okay. I'm just worried after it's been almost 4 years. So I'm just kind of worried that it will never happen. Wider so that it doesn't clog up every year.
Mosquito Creek, but let's see.
I think city manager,
Go ahead.
we actually got in, but it is
Thank
under
you.
climate change.
Oh, sorry. Which number?
Number 40.
Creek reach 2 PA that's working directly on that Pope Chaucer Bridge project.
Advocate for it and try to push it forward because every year people live in fear of flooding.
Came from the December 31st flood, the JPAs. So they're not even in a place currently of trying to push forward with that, back really from being able to proceed with that.
Okay. Is there anything on our side?
I think our council participation in the JPA and staff, the different Reach 2 project alternative.
We're doing everything we can.
I believe that's
Saying like to make a motion to approve the 23 objectives in the climate change and natural environment section.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lowing,
Yes.
Councilmember Vinker,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
And Vice Mayor Lowing.
This whole notice of funding availability, NOFA. I think that it's funds to use in affordable housing. But my understanding is in the past, it's just been sort of, number one, we need to add to that fund. But number two, we should be deciding what are the criteria? And maybe we should even be looking at quote reserves in that fund so that it doesn't go below. Suggest the wording there around NOAA just be to evaluate. Sure.
As the housing ad hoc is aware, this has been presents any issues.
Thank you, City Manager. Yeah, we are, and we do have, a number of individuals or agencies that are seeking funds. So we do have a question of how do we, I do think the language is perfectly fine from my perspective, and that is something that we could, as the appropriate form, it would certainly work for me, but I know that we have descriptions on what the different.
So
I agree.
Gear toward that.
Great, thank you.
And I've discussed this with Director Lade before. And so I think we should be specific about that and just because we're already working on it and you should get credits and methods for raising significant funding to support affordable housing.
We know that this is ongoing work. So let me ask direct time to come up with an appropriate scope and have that report back to
charges to explore different options, and staff is working on a work that we're doing, and we can note it on this chart.
Yeah, we're supposed to see that in about 2, but we absolutely have to get going on evaluating these sources. And the last one I have on this is there's a number, but I thought it was odd that 61 says adopt ordinance implementing various housing.
The sort of placemat, but there's a whole list of other sort of one-off actions that would be like a omnibus of code changes that are wrapped up into, I'm sorry, yes, line
Right.
60. It's a nothing that is particularly
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Coops.
So I'd like to find out, if that could be added back onto.
to comment on that. This has certainly been an issue that positioned to be able to describe where we left the most recent iteration. Is it Mr. Late or perhaps
memo And I could probably find some in this objective.
Resources
Yeah.
for. And so in effect, I think what we're saying is that we can't fit it within our existing resource.
Somewhere, now I don't know where, that it was going to be a consideration of the FY. I mean, it's a colleague's memo, so I really have to kind of wonder back on. My other question, program 3.9 is that related to converting?
A policy that reduces incentive toward housing production and away from office.
Palo Alto, council had unanimously and their attorney spoke to it about providing, that is also on the schedule.
Christy Bascom was the representative property specific text amendment presented this evening. I did speak, or at least exchange emails with Ms. Bascom, and I believe we need to identify resources to take that on. We could do it. We just need to understand what adjusts in the recommendations that we have before the council.
Examining it and to explore it. So,
Councilmember Burt.
Thank you. Well, like many of these items are related to implementing the housing element. There's a lot of changes that we've already done and their ability to do that. And that includes something like all of the initiatives that are required to meet the housing element mean that we can't do as many things this year as we really think we want to do and would be beneficial agenda, so that we make sure that we recognize things that we just couldn't do. The 52, which is by this fall to approve the consultant focus on items 65 and 66. A few weeks ago, we saw an update on our unhoused community, in large part because the county is really on housing and services for the unhoused. Rather than getting the strategic plan earlier this year, probably meets our needs, not until Q4. And 5 is initiating research to understand Palo Alto unhoused population and explore feasibility of expanding safe parking. It sounds broader than that, or in that strategic plan.
And I think this maybe just was talking about a strategy to better connect housing, but there are a lot of things that are already within the county strategic plan that we are, as a sin, that the interest was broader than that in understanding our homeless population.
So just to wrap up then, I really do think that it comes back to, we need a more comprehensive and strategic understanding of this. And that would include the roles of the county, which may be greater than the roles that we play, but that can be in our strategic plan so that we look at this, but then the clearest summary of the county initiative. And then we are going to look at understanding our unhoused population, which would go into the strategic plan, right? What are the existing conditions? Essentially, safe dwelling for vehicles. And it's not so much the unhoused, it's our affordable housing. We have either the highest or the second highest proportion with other communities who we've received criticism from. But one of the part, I think it's very, they're performing well. We've been hearing complaints for a couple of years about Mayfield Place, issues with affordable housing providers. And that means if we hear complaints, we try to understand what they're about. Are they legitimate or are they not? But when we set up affordable housing, we shouldn't just walk away from it once it's provided in the community. We have an ongoing, but we do need to understand if there's a problem. So, all right, thanks. So I'm going to be interested in adding that.
Lights. Director Light, if you don't know this, that's fine. Maybe you could get back to us at some point. I'm just curious how much, do you know how much the city has?
No.
Okay. I would imagine a lot.
more than I would like to.
Resources and time that we are putting in getting this document approved, what that could mean, and as far as actually promoting some of these housing policies like short-term rentals and others that could actually be actually putting people in.
Sorry, I didn't ring in earlier. I want to join Councilmember Koo in asking that we do try to figure out how to get Palo Alto Redwood sorted out. I see it as the way I understand it is it's a bit of an error. It was zoned commercial. It's this residential situation. I don't know if it's condos or apartments, but it's a whole community. And they're simply asking to have more about it than that. But it does feel like, you know, sometimes we discover these sort of errors that not of our making, you know, like on elsewhere, where like, if only we had fixed this earlier, you know? So I don't know, it feels to me to be something, I have no idea how big it is. And Director Late and your entire team are experiencing pride and joy for all the tremendous work you are doing on behalf of the residents and property owners of this city. The number of things on your full plate, as Councilmember Burt put it, is astonishing. You are doing so much. We know you are under-resourced. We know it's a myriad of things. And I just want you to know, from the housing element to the various SB 9 protections to renter protections and so much more, you are doing a Herculean task, and so is your entire team. And often we're up here saying what we wish you would do differently or faster, but I just want to let you know.
So tonight we heard during public comment about, I guess it was Living Wisdom, is that the name of the school? Okay, Living Wisdom High School at Coverly. And that.
I would stop at your initial comment that it's not a part of the priorities
for us, and just we could maybe get more rent, perhaps even.
Well, I would reflect on the priorities. I think
Is
you
it the
could
next
bring
one?
it up under the community health
Okay, I'll bring it up next
safety.
Yeah, so I'd move acceptance of the housing for social economic balance with the NOFA, just reword that as conduct a policy review with criteria for NOFA. Sources and methods for raising significant funding to support affordable housing.
Madam Clerk, could you shift the view so we can see the proposed motion, please?
Yep, that's close enough.
All right, any second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Councilmember Koo, second. Vice Mayor Larry?
Vanilla relative to what we're actually doing, and Director Late should be getting credit for. How we squeeze on more to the
Make an friendly amendment or addition. Let me see here. To explore Palo Alto Redwoods HOA for zoning code.
and it's fair, but we've just heard the director state that his judgment is it just can't fit in this year, and we just can't do everything. So, I mean, I think
Add it to the what list?
I'm hesitant to add it to the 75 objectives as an essential objective.
Well, my only concern, okay, well, I was kind of hoping that it could just get on the list and not be so much that we'll do it, because a lot of this also came from previous years. including short-term rentals. That was my next one.
If tonight we really are only acting on the 2024 list, but I think what we're seeing is that we want to make sure some things that we want to see on the 2025 list, the Redwoods project and the short-term rentals are two in this section that we've identified. And so question of staff, can we get that
That in a way that keeps it on the plate and on the table.
Okay. And then I don't know if it's related to that. My request that that our assistant to the city manager's office on housing issues, we have some mechanism to review performance complaints on affordable housing, existing affordable housing projects.
As to how we can do that. Quite frankly, I think it would often both triage and refer to mediation, those issues. As we roll in oversight, and well, oversight may not be the best term so much as intervention or in bring forward as a part of your upcoming budget process, some thoughts on how to address that issue allocation.
I'm good with that. We really don't know the scope, of even the kind of project as part of the Mayfield agreement. And there's a question.
Councilman Ku?
Yeah, just a question. So on the same point, so we have, so related is actually Stanford's for Mayfield Place, but we have oversee those complaints, if any, you know, how do we oversee those?
Let me ask Director Late to comment on the at least
time we will get a complaint. When that happens, we reach out to Alta Housing. We have a conversation to understand more about to share what we're because we lost our housing planner to another city several months ago. The good news is we have recruited for and we are bringing somebody on board, local support for the BMR program, and be able to respond to those complaints more effectively.
I would also add that in addition to the planner, active resident, under other circumstances, we have had code enforcement go visit units where there have been issues of concern. Services provided through our Community Services Department, Office of Human Services. So there are a variety, again, largely focused on mediation. The issue that we'll want to discuss with the council more broadly is how organizationally do we, such as the rental registry, the potential for more direct involvement between the city and both landlords and tenants.
And this kind of shows that there is, I guess there is a boundary or a fine line when we're dealing with properties that how much we can kind of have control over and have oversight over some of the contracts that we have. With the Matadero Creek, affordable it's called now?
Yeah.
Or a temporary name?
Yeah, that's correct. That's how we're referencing it.
That's going to be a contract through the city, right?
Imagine that being a scenario where the city would engage Alta Housing or some agency to oversee that program.
But the city would have oversight.
The city would probably contract and terms and conditions to meet, the vendor would need to meet, as we do now.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Madam Clerk. And that's all.
Great, thank you. We're ready for the.
Councilmember Burt,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lowing,
Yes.
Mayor Stone,
Yes.
Councilmember Lithcott-Haynes,
Yes.
Councilmember Vinker,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We'll move on to our last one.
Mayor?
Let's continue.
Question?
Yeah.
Point of order. So based on our rules, we should be doing a time check. One thing is, do we still have AA2 that we're intending to proceed on, or if not?
I think we're going to see where we were at, but given that it is past 10:30 and we're still not done with AA1,
I assume we'll be continuing AA2.
Yeah. And then I guess by policy, we need to make sure that we're buying into that we're going to start our closed sessions after this item ends.
Yep.
Which will be late.
If everyone's fine with that. Okay.
It's after this one, right? To the Finance Committee and to the Policy and Services?
Yes, you do have the standing committee work plans to discuss, and I would suggest their staff, we're just conferring that we bring those two back, the standing committee work plans, so that you don't need to tackle that tonight.
Great.
We have people on Zoom.
AA1 back on March 4th.
I'm sorry, they weren't waiting to speak. They wanted to be around to answer questions should you have any, should council members have any. So we might want to just tell them on the work plans that we will not go through it today.
Yep. We will not be getting to the work plans tonight. So if you are hanging around for that, sorry, but we will have it re-agendized for a future date.
Thank you.
And if we have to come back and finish that, if no one feels nods. So, city manager?
It's only half jokingly, except from staff. We're really hoping we were going to get our objectives complete tonight, but understanding the interests of the council, we will re-agendize it for an upcoming meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'd rather have a more robust conversation with people a little fresher on that. All right, then we'll continue that and we will be continuing AA2 to a date uncertain. And that brings us to our closed session.
Can I just ask procedurally when we might do that? Because as we discussed in the pre-meeting today, we're looking at an April meeting because we're pushing items out. So now we've pushed out 2 items, one of which has been pushed, both of which have been pushed out twice already. So the obvious first question is, do we want to have a short meeting next Monday to knock those 2 things out and get caught up?
I think the primary driver on that question or to answer that question will be council availability. I believe for staff, we can certainly accommodate that. And again, just to be clear, I think we're looking at the, is it 25th? The March 25th, and in order to continue this meeting and finish the business at hand. City Clerk, I don't want to speak for you, so we're good from staff perspective.
Okay, so you're going to circle with council to poll for that. Are we doing it now?
If you're prepared to have that, it would certainly give us and the public clarity as to whether we'll have a meeting next Monday.
Okay. Is anyone not able to make that? Next. Yeah, okay.
If we could do 6:30, that would be good for me.
I have an 8 o'clock conflict, but if we start at 5:30, I'll bet we'll be done.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it makes sense to start at our normal time. So we'll start at 5:30 next Monday, March 25th. Yay. And
2 items.
2 items.
Correct. Yes. AA1 and AA2.
Correct. All right. Moving on to now our closed session. We have AA3, conference with city attorney, existing litigation regarding Hamilton and High, the Keenan Family Trust et al. Versus City of Palo Alto. And then item 3, conference with real property negotiators concerning 4,000 Middlefield Road, also informally known as the cover lease site. We'll take any public comment on both of those items. We'll limit it to 2 minutes apiece.
Our first speaker is Aram J.
I think that we have way too many closed sessions where the public's cut out on important items. I see we're going to be dealing with the Coverly issue, that particular issue has drawn like way large amounts of public interest, and now you close it off to the public. I just think it's a huge disservice. I think that I don't know if this is driven by Ed Chicada. It wouldn't surprise me, that we have these excessive amounts of closed sessions because, as I say, I've nicknamed him Ed No Transparency Chicada. And we've got some other nicknames like Boondoggle. But in all seriousness, how do you run a public entity, a city council like this, like going into closed session, and then you come out of these things with saying no notice to the public? It's really a disservice. I'd like the city attorney, in all seriousness, to look at the issue of whether across.
Mr. James,
Yes,
you should be speaking to either AA3 or number 3 if you want to speak against closed sessions.
Well, I'm talking about
public comment.
I appreciate that, but I'm actually speaking to both, but particularly the Coverly issue, right, that I addressed. You've been listening to me. I don't think these kinds of critical issues where there's been so much public input should all of a sudden be put into closed sessions. Now, again, I said, I don't know whether you're driving it as the mayor or in conjunction or collaboration with the city manager, but it's shameful. We need to have the public involved in these things and stop closing them off to public input. It's just not fair. It's not appropriate. And I'm asking you to look at ending these closed sessions as much as possible. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
Great, thank you. Moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Councilmember Vinker.
All right, taking the vote to go into closed session. Vice Mayor Lowing?
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Koo?
Yes.
Councilmember Vinker?
Yes.
Councilmember Burt?
Yes.
Councilmember Lithcott-Hames?
Yes.
Mayor Stone?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Great, we're coming back from closed session. We're not being broadcast. We have to wait for that. Oh, okay, thank you. And we're back from closed session, no reportable action, and we are adjourned. Thank you.